Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success, from the playing field of competition to the field of life. We're speaking with inspirational sports leaders, former athletes, coaches, administrators, sports psychologists, and related professionals who are sharing their life strategies and empowering messages of hope and purpose to support those athletes that are seeking to make a successful transition from the playing field of competition to the field of life. My name is Dominic Militello, and we're so glad you could join us. We are very fortunate to have another terrific guest with us today, so let's jump right in. Today we are speaking with a very talented and passionate Toccara Williams. Toccara is a former professional basketball point guard who was selected in the third round of the WNBA draft by the San Antonio Silver Stars. Prior to her playing in the WNBA, she played college basketball at Texas A&M. There, Toccara broke and set many records while at Texas A&M in the Big 12 Conference. She is only one of 3 players in NCAA history to record more than 1,000 points, 450 steals, 700 assists, and 500 rebounds. Just incredible. In addition to playing for the Silver Stars, Toccara also played professionally overseas in Turkey, Korea, China, and Israel. She currently runs her nonprofit organization called Sweet Rebound that is geared towards the youth by utilizing sports as a platform for education. Recently, she was selected as a director for the United States Specialty Sports Association, which is a testament to her hard work and dedication to the sport of basketball. We are so very fortunate and lucky to have Toccara Williams with us today. Toccara, welcome to the Championship Showcase.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be here.
Well, we appreciate it. We know you're extremely busy. We really want to know about your thoughts about athletes transitioning and the work you're doing with Sweet Rebound. But before we get there, will you share with our audience a little bit about your background and your upbringing?
I graduated. I'm originally from Hollywood, Florida, where I grew up at playing basketball. It's right between Miami, Florida, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Very rich in athletes from that area. We had a lot of athletes go Division I in football from my high school, which is Southborough High School, and also girls going Division I basketball as well. I won 2 state championships in high school. Then I received my collegiate scholarship to Texas A&M University. Then was drafted to the WNBA. I grew up with my mom. My father passed away when I was 8 years old. So I had a very strong support system just within my family. My family really pitched in and really made sure I got all the things that I needed, but most importantly, their support in me playing athletics.
Well, sorry to hear about your father. It sounds like you were in a rich sports environment. Why were sports important for you growing up?
Well, I think sports for me growing up was my avenue of coping with the death of my father as well, because growing up in my neighborhood, he was very well known for playing basketball as well. And, you know, a lot of people say that I played just like him. The only difference between he and I was that he was left-handed and I was right-handed. So I think that was a major, major connection for me. And just knowing that, you know, sports was my way out of getting to that next level of where I wanted to be. So for me, sports was everything. I invested my all, my energy, and my family, like I said, they were my great support system, but they made sure I stayed on top of my academics as well.
And that's so important. Being a student athlete is very important. What were some of the early life lessons that you learned through competition?
You can't win everything. You know, no matter how hard you prepare and how hard you try, sometimes you just won't come out on the victorious side as they would have in the record book. But you still can be victorious within the game, although you may have lost the game itself. You learn some things through adversity and through defeat that teaches you, and you carry it throughout your life. So I would definitely say that that's one of the major things that I've learned, just not winning everything, but understanding what you learn from not doing so.
Gotcha. Very important stuff. You must have had, you talked about your mother raising you and being supportive. Who were some of your other coaches or mentors that helped mold you into the kind of person you are today?
Fortunate enough for me, I was able to play for what she is now, the Hall of Fame coach in Broward County, Abby Ward. I played growing up with her. She was my high school coach. So she really helped mold me into the person that I am today, too, outside of my family. And our assistant coach was Richard Walker, who is still now the coach at South Broward High School. So just having those two present in my life and very relevant, you get that strong father figure from Richard, from Coach Walker. And you also get, that motherly love from Coach Ward, who was not a yeller. So she didn't have to yell at us to get her point across. And both of them, different dynamics taught us so much. They just taught us so much, and I'm very grateful for that. And we still have a very, very close relationship, and that's how you can tell when somebody impacts your life, because you still reach out to them in whatever you need, if it's just the ear to lean on, to listen to you and talk to you, or a shoulder to cry on. So
it's so true. You talk about those coaches and mentors having a lifelong impact on certain athletes and players. Not everybody gets along with every coach they come along with, but when you do have a special bond with them, it can last a lifetime. Toccara, we know you had some early challenges with your father passing away. What were some of the other toughest challenges that you've had in your life coming up as an athlete and a student athlete, and how did you deal with it?
Well, just from a physical standpoint, I was always shorter than everybody growing up. I got a growth spurt later on in life, but growing up I was very short, and I always had these older cousins, and I always played against my god cousins. They're like 6'2", 6'4", 6'6", 6'8". So when we would go to the parks to play basketball, it was impossible to get shots off on them. And it helped me develop my ball handling skills and just seeing the court. My court vision really excelled at that point. You don't look at it like that when you're younger. You're just playing a game. But, as I grew up, I noticed that, I was crafty with the ball, and I really got to give it to them because, they didn't take it easy on me at all. And once they saw my dribbling skills getting so great, they kind of D'd me up a little more themselves and played me a little tougher. So that was one of the challenges. Just not having my dad there was a challenge. But like I said, family really pitched in and made that transition a little easier throughout my life. And you always have the element of your peers. Everyone is not going to want you to go on the correct path. You have some peers that will try to get you to go to doing things that that you're not supposed to do, although you've been taught the right things to do. And I think a lot of kids, if you're not strong-willed and strong-minded, they follow into the paths of whatever everyone else is doing. So that was an obstacle that was faced, but being the person that I am, and I knew that I wanted to succeed, I stayed on that right path. And even the peers that were doing bad things, they wouldn't let me do bad things. So it's weird, but that's what you look for, and that's what you want. So.
Well, it takes a special person when the negative influences don't want you to mess up. So that says a lot about the kind of person you are. Tell us, how did your high school experience prepare you for Texas A&M?
My coaching was just fabulous. I mean, some coaches can be very one-dimensional and only teach you one thing and just let you play off your athleticism. I was gifted enough to be athletic, but my coaches taught me the game of basketball. And, there's more than one way to do certain things. There's more than one way just to win. I mean, we would blow teams out, but that wouldn't stop our coach from teaching us. And for example, if we're up 40 points on the team, we get out of whatever defense we were in, and she would tell us, just stay solid. Don't try and steal the ball. Make sure you're in the right positions. And offensively, we had to move the ball around a certain amount of times before we even took a shot, because she wanted us working on certain things, and she knew that would prepare us for going to the state championships and also taking our games to the next level, which was everyone's ultimate goal.
Well, and you not only took it to the next level, but you exceeded all kinds of records and broke records at A&M. At what point, while in college, did you feel your game really went to the next level? Was it when you first got there, or did it take some time to develop while in college?
When I first got to college, I just was doing what it was that I do. I didn't see anything special about it. I just went out there and competed every play, every time I stepped on the court. So to me, it felt rather natural versus all the other outside talks that I was getting, like, wow, you're good. And I'm just like, well, just being competitive, I don't know about the good part, but, I'm just working to be competitive because I knew at the end of the day, my ultimate goal was to make it to the WNBA. And I knew that each and every night I had to go out, and this is included in practices as well. You have to go out, and you have to prepare yourself to get there. So if I had a great game one game, all right, great. It's in the past. We build on that, and we work to the next one. So I probably would say around my junior year is when I really took a look and was like, wow, my first 2 years of college, I've broken a great numerous amount of records, and it's like, wow, I'm really on path to do something special here. And it just made me hungrier, and it made me more determined, and it made me go harder.
Well, some of our guests we've had on said competing is everything. I mean, you have to have a will to compete, whether it's by yourself in the gym late at night or in practice or certainly in the games. Competition was certainly something that really drove you, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a competitor at everything. I mean, you name it. I didn't want to lose at anything. And I think, my coaches in high school definitely instilled that in me. We would compete at anything. Games after practices, just shooting games after practices. It was crazy. But our competition level was really, really high.
What surprised you about when you got to the league and you were playing for the Silver Stars? Did anything surprise you about the pro level?
The only thing that really surprised me, and it didn't really surprise me then, was that the speed of it was like totally different. You hear it when they tell you going from high school to college, the speed is different. But it really hit me in playing professionally because, I mean, everybody's just as fast as me, if not faster than me. And I really realized that I really had a special quality in leading people and making them believe in me and would actually listen to what I'm saying, even as a rookie, when they look to me and they would call me their point guard. Although I was the backup point guard to an Olympian, they still would call me their point guard. And, that made me feel really special as well. And, just knowing that having that spot in their eyes as a rookie was something special.
Well, it sounds like, and just reading from your bio, you traveled the world playing basketball. What was it that drove you to keep playing and travel the world and take your talents around the globe?
Basketball is something I love. And, I would even take it a step further and say basketball is something that I'm in love with. And when you're in love with something, you give it your all, you give it your passion, your dedication, your commitment, all those things. And, it's just like a relationship. You're working to get better at it. You're working to build at it. When things don't go your way, you have to come up with different solutions and ways to fix whatever problems that you're having. But that's how I view basketball, as my everything. And I knew that, as long as I invested my all into it, and that's even giving back to the kids in the community, and, just volunteering with kids throughout my collegiate career as well, that I could go far with basketball. And as long as basketball could take me around the world, I was willing to put in that time to get it done.
Well, it sounds like you did put the time in, and it did take you around the world. At some point, though, Toccara, you came to a situation where you realized that you weren't going to be able to compete at that level forever. Take us through that moment or the time or the event that happened for you when you realized that there's going to be life outside of basketball, competitively anyway.
Right. So, growing up, like I said, I always wanted to be a basketball player no matter what. I didn't see life any other form or fashion. Didn't even think about the end game. Like, I've watched it all throughout my life growing up when players retire. And you're like, oh, okay, it just doesn't hit you that, one day if you make it, you're going to be this player. So, I mean, just going through that transition of, it's starting to dwindle down, your body's not strong as it used to be, you're not as fast as you used to be, and it's very difficult to accept that reality of walking away from something that you love, and that's why I chose to walk away from playing, but continuing building the processes of what I do with basketball now.
Now, some people have equated the process of making that transition of losing the identity of a professional athlete. They equate it to the grieving process. Did you experience anything like that where maybe you were maybe a little bit relieved at first, but then went through kind of a depression and the victimhood of it, and then maybe started coming out to accepting it, or did you just kind of jump into your next thing right away with no problem?
No, there was difficulties. There were definitely difficulties because you watch the game and you know what you're capable of. And, in your mind, you're still that rookie coming into the league and that rookie playing professionally. And, sometimes your body just it can't do it anymore, and it's very difficult. I mean, some people go through depression, and there are times when you do, you get depressed because you're so used to doing this one thing, and when it's taken away, it's very tough to cope with. A lot of people deal with depression very differently, and it tarnishes your mind when you seriously think about it, because I was playing basketball from the age of 4. So if you say from 4 years old till about the age of 30, this is all you've ever done is play basketball, and then to have to walk away from it, that's about 26 years of doing something you truly love, and now you're not doing it anymore. So it definitely is like a grieving process. And, it like I said, having that family support, like I had to get to that level, it was very important to have them there transitioning out of it as well.
Did your family feel some sort of loss with your transition?
They did in a sense, but I still was coaching, and, I had some relatives asking, well, why don't you, try to do something else outside of basketball? And, I had those talks, the persuasive talks to try to get me to going into different fields. But, my heart and my passion isn't in it. So, you have to really look deep down. And as athletes, we are blessed with certain talents, true enough, from a physical aspect and what you can do athletically. And it's just finding out what your true gifts are. Because your athletic ability, that's a talent. And it's about finding what your gift is. And once you figure that out, things really start to open up for you. And now you can use your playing abilities that you've played before as leverage, per se.
Beautiful. Beautiful stuff, Toccara. We'd really like to hear that visual of that process for you. How long did it take for you to find those gifts that you're talking about for you specifically? And how long was the process before you started your foundation?
Well, I was playing. The last time I played overseas was in 2011, and right when I got back in December, I got back around Christmas time in December. January of 2012, I started Sweet Rebound. Before that, I was coaching at high schools, just giving back in that sense. And at times it's very hard when you are a competitor and you're used to competing and you get out there and you're used to winning, playing at a certain level, to process that every child does not have your competitive spirit and your competitive mind. And that was one thing that I had to make an adjustment on early on in my career of coaching as well. But starting Sweet Rebound, that is when I knew, all right, I'm done with playing. Now I'm going to take this to the next level. I want to teach kids how to play the game of basketball, not only how I learned, hopefully help them to get scholarships, and just use basketball as a tool for, you're going through problems. Basketball should be your scapegoat. If you're going through anything in life, basketball can be that safe haven like it was for me. But also the ultimate goal is obtaining a free collegiate scholarship to schools. That's very important, because even if I made it to the WNBA and got hurt and couldn't play anymore, just having schooling and education behind me is, no one could take that away from you. So that's something that I really, believe in, and want the kids that are involved in my organization, and even the ones that are not, because I speak to a lot of kids as well, and everybody's not in my organization, but any child that I speak to, I tell them, get your education, or more than anything, because everybody can't play professional. The numbers are extremely low, extremely low. But I don't knock anyone's dream, because if you believe you can make it, you can, and you shouldn't let anybody tell you that you can't. But also just knowing that, obtain that education, and that's important.
Wonderful message. You're listening to the Championship Showcase. We're speaking with a very talented and passionate Toccara Williams. Toccara, how have you used your toughest challenges or obstacles in your message with the kids that you work with now?
I use it with them because they'll face adversity a lot. I don't necessarily get the top athletes that are like Division I prospects. So I get those hard workers that's willing to work hard, and, just understanding that some things you're going to be limited at, but if you work hard at your strengths and you understand your limitations, you're not going to go into something that you know you can't do. It's just all about believing in yourself, and you can always work hard and get to wherever you want to be, but it's not going to be easy. It's consistent work, it's constant work outside of playing with your coaches. It's the work you do by yourself that builds your character, and that's one thing I try to instill in them.
That's a very powerful and poignant perspective, to really go inside yourself and figure out who you are and what you're all about and what your purpose is. A lot of athletes struggle with that while in this transition. What would you say to somebody who is maybe struggling trying to find that purpose, and when you talk about going within yourself to find it, what kind of advice would you give them?
It's definitely part of self-reflection. They make songs about it. Michael Jackson did, The Man in the Mirror. It has a very deep meaning to it. When you're able to literally look at yourself, and when I say naked, I don't mean like literally naked, but just strip down yourself and know what type of person you are. When you can accept that and you understand the type of person you are, that makes you move closer to your gifts. Like I said, athleticism is a talent, but there's some hidden gifts in every athlete that many of us never know we possess until we finish playing basketball or until we finish playing our athletic careers. But there are definitely a lot of gifts that's hidden deep within, and if you're able to find those gifts while you're competing at your sport, then it's much more. It's a beautiful thing, definitely a beautiful thing. And I think the transition then would be much smoother and easier.
Great stuff, Toccara, and I totally agree with you. I remember when I was kind of at my low point transitioning from professional athletics into the real world, I had to really go back and look at my belief systems and everything. I had to look at my what did I think about relationships and career and children and marriage and all that stuff. And what I realized, some of that stuff was I accepted from my parents and grandparents that maybe were a little bit outdated, that I didn't necessarily agree with because maybe I'd outgrown them. And I started writing some new beliefs that were able to help me transition. What are your thoughts about belief systems?
We, like you said, we have belief systems that's inherited from our families that, are pretty much given down to us generation from generation. Playing athletics, it opens you up to a whole nother realm. And I think you can see different things. And traveling abroad, playing abroad internationally, it really opens your mind to let you know that, okay, I can believe in this, and this person, which is my teammate, they believe in this, and we get along just fine. There's certain principles that's shared throughout religion, business practices, and everything. It's just certain principles that are shared that even though we believe in different things, the principles are the same. And that's the important thing, just knowing that, okay, well, this didn't work, but possibly this could work. And I think it definitely broadens your horizon.
Well, very good. And it sounds like those are the kind of things you're instilling with your kids. Tell us a little bit more about Sweet Rebound and why you started it, and maybe some of the successes you've had since then.
I started Sweet Rebound as my way of giving back. I've been blessed to play for 3 Hall of Fame coaches. Coach Abby Ward was my high school coach, who I said earlier was the Hall of Fame coach in Broward County. Peggy Gillum was my first coach at Texas A&M. She's inducted into the Hall of Fame as a player. And Gary Blair, who is my coach my senior year, who's still at Texas A&M right now, he's also a Hall of Fame coach. And just having those 3 people in my life, and each one of them always told me to give back to the game. Give back to the game, and the game of basketball will give back to you. I didn't know what that meant, but I'm like, all right, it's coming from these people, and I trust them. So, I'm going to give back. And, I was doing it without even knowing. In college, I used to go to a local center in College Station and just play around with the kids, talk to them. They would ask me questions about different things, and it didn't matter to me that, I was one of the best girls on the team. That didn't matter. I was just sitting around with the kids, just listening to them. If they had a problem, they would speak with me. Or if they just wanted to play basketball with me, that was fine too. So that part of me, it was already there. I just hadn't tapped into it yet. And when I really sat back and said, well, I'm not gonna play anymore. This is it. I'm just gonna dedicate everything to coaching. it just popped right in my head. Well, Toccara, you've been doing it already. Now let's put it together and let's make it work. So that's how that became about. But all of my friends growing up, they call me Sweet. So that's where the name Sweet comes from. And the rebound is getting a second chance at life, no matter what that is. Beautiful. Although in basketball, you mean rebound. So
Sure, absolutely. Well, great stuff. How important would you say are the values of leadership and accountability, either on and or off the court?
They're very strong, because if you're not gonna play professional sports and you're gonna be in the corporate world or just in the workforce, period, if you're a leader, you always have people that have to follow you, and you have people that work underneath you. So as a leader, you have to lead vocally. That's by speaking. And you have to lead by example. That's by doing. Vocally, it means a lot. It really does. But leading by example really lets a person know that, hey, this is our leader doing these things. So we would have to jump on board with our leader. So I think it plays a very significant role in whatever field or profession that you do.
Excellent. What do you think, or what are your thoughts around athletes transitioning? We hear quite often athletes struggling. There are a handful of athletes that go on and make a nice, smooth transition into their next phase of life, but there's obviously a lot of athletes that struggle. What are your thoughts around why you think that is the case?
Well, just like with schooling, when we have schools and they teach us certain things, I just think, there's not enough people that know this to transition to the next level. And we're starting now to have those groups and areas set in place for athletes that will help throughout the transitioning process, because you're still a part of the basketball family, but, you have to take care of your family. When you're done playing, it shouldn't be, all right, you're done playing, you're on your own. There should be some form of, mentoring and making sure that relationship is nurtured to get you through the transitioning period.
We've talked to a lot of guests that have said having a broad experience outside of just athletics, like you were saying, you were 100% focused and driven. Do you think if you had maybe a broader experience of other interests while you were playing professionally, that would have had an impact on your transition?
Oh, absolutely, because when you really think about it, playing sports, it's not easy. You can't get out there and you can't really have a job per se, because you spend so much time in training and practices, and if you have to go out and speak, those type of things, you really don't get the workforce experience, which if you stop playing, you go to fill out an application, and one of the questions they ask you, what's your work history? And all you can put on that application is really whatever sport you're in. And, that's not something that they're looking for all the time. So if there was a way to, internship only lasts for so long. If there was a way to definitely broaden the horizons while playing, being able to do something else, on top of what you already do, I think that does make the transition go by a little smoother, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to work with athletes because you come with so many different intangibles. You already know how to work with a team. You already are able to take instruction. And you know what it is to be a team player if you're playing in a team sport, of course. But I just think if those things were in place, then, yes, the transition would be easier.
What's one of the biggest things you're most proud about with Sweet Rebound?
The things I'm most proud about with that is seeing the growth of my players from a day-to-day basis. Just seeing them flourish into, becoming leaders and holding their own and really knowing the game of basketball, and also just in their personal lives, because they know they can reach out to me and speak with me about anything. I mean, it's so refreshing when one of my players call me, because I coach them throughout the summer, and, on their off time, they all go to different high schools and middle schools, but they'll call me, Coach, this coach called me from this college. Like, that's very refreshing, because you're part of a process and an experience that you're sharing with them that they'll never forget. So that's something that I'm definitely proud of.
Toccara, you've played at the highest levels, at the high school level, at the collegiate level, at the professional level. You've traveled the world. You run your own foundation now. what are the life strategies that you could share, the most important ones, maybe the top 3, 5 life strategies that you can share with those athletes that may be a little bit lost out there or struggling right now in their transition? Could you share your top 3 to 5 strategies?
It's the same as when I was playing. It's like the game doesn't change, the players do. So I look at life as, it's a basketball game as well. And all throughout my career, I've set goals for myself. My coaches all taught me to set goals for myself. So, I set those specific goals. Your goals have to be specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be obtainable. They have to be reachable, and they have to be tangible. So when you sit down and really think about what it is that you want to do after your career is over, if you set those things up in your mind and, you write them down, because that's very important. There's a lot of ideas that'll pop into your head, but if you don't write them down, they can get lost in that shuffle. So just staying focused, staying driven, and staying passionate about what you're doing. I think those are the top 3 things that I would say that would work for anybody that's going through a transition, because there's going to be obstacles. There's obstacles when you were competing in your sport and you somehow find a way to get through the adversity. And it's the same thing in life. You're going to face obstacles. You're going to face the bumps and bruises, but it still dates back to your character and how you get through it, when no one is watching you.
So wonderful. Great words of wisdom from the wonderful Toccara Williams. Well, everyone, we're just about out of time. We certainly hope you've enjoyed our conversation with the incredible Toccara Williams today. I know I have. You've been listening to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success. From the playing field of competition to the field of life, Toccara, any last thoughts before we officially sign off to our listeners?
If you can achieve it, you will believe it.
Wonderful. Well, listen, we want to thank you for your time. Congratulations, and continue the best of work with Sweet Rebound and helping kids becoming the best they can be. And we want to thank you for joining us today. We encourage those of you who feel you might need some assistance through your career transition, please reach out, get the necessary help you need. You have purpose and you have value. For Toccara Williams, this is Dominic Militello. We want to wish you all the best always, and we'll catch you next time.